she'd do anything. She'd do anything for that man. And, for him to do this to her is...
At least 2 women in Toledo never telling them that he was a carrier of that virus. Now, Ronald Murdock is facing a murder charge after one of his victims died.
By the time she found out, and by the time, everything was all said and done, it was way too late.
To make matters worse, Murdock was married the entire time the two were dating. And police say it was Murdock's wife that found out about the affair, passing along the news to Kimberly that he was HIV positive.
A woman spent 5 years loving a man who was slowly killing her. And the wild part? His wife tried to warn her. She didn't believe her. Now, I know what you're thinking. Of course, she didn't believe the wife. Nobody ever believes the wife. The wife is always the bitter, jealous woman trying to break up a happy situationship, right? That's the oldest story in the book. The wife calls, you roll your eyes. You block her. You go right back to your man. Except this time, the wife was the only person in this entire situation telling the truth, which is honestly the most tragic plot twist. Because the one person Kimberly should have listened to was the one person she had every reason not to trust. And Ronald Murdock knew that. He counted on it. By the time Kimberly found the pill bottles, by the time the doctors ran the tests, by the time 5 years of unprotected sex with a married, HIV-positive man finally showed up on her blood work, her body had already been losing a battle she didn't even know she was fighting. Ronald Murdock found out he was HIV positive in 2004. He kept that information to himself for over a decade. Which, and I say this with my whole chest, is not a mistake. You don't accidentally forget to mention that for 10 years. That is a choice, made repeatedly, every single day. This is Toledo, Ohio, and Kimberly Klempner was, by every account from the people who loved her, an amazing woman, a mother, someone who gave everything she had to the people in her life. She also had Crohn's disease, a condition that keeps your immune system on a permanent losing streak. Fatigue, inflammation, hospital visits. It was just part of her life. Her family knew it. Her doctors managed it. And for a long time, nobody had any reason to look beyond it. Now Ronald Murdock, also 51, also from Toledo, was a married man. Married, with a wife, at home. And right around June 2011, he started seeing Kimberly on the side. For nearly 5 years, Kimberly gave this man her time, her trust, her loyalty. Whether she knew she was the other woman at the start or not, what we do know is that she genuinely loved him. What she did not know was that Ronald had been diagnosed HIV positive in 2004, 7 years before they even met. 7 years of quietly managing his diagnosis, taking his medication, and apparently deciding that the women he was sleeping with simply did not need that information. Because why ruin a good thing with something as minor as the truth? Fast forward to 2015. Kimberly's Crohn's medication, the same prescription she had relied on for years, suddenly stopped working. Just like that. No effect. And when her doctors went digging for answers, they found something nobody in that room was prepared for. HIV positive. She was 51 years old and she had AIDS. Now Kimberly, because she trusted this man completely, went straight to Ronald and told him everything. Sat him down, laid out her diagnosis. And, according to investigators, that man reacted like she had just told him the weather outside was a little cloudy. No guilt. No panic. No, Kim, I need to tell you something. Just nothing. Here's what you need to know about that reaction. Shocked people act shocked. Guilty people act unbothered. And Ronald Murdock was the most unbothered man in Toledo, Ohio that day. Something about that non-reaction stuck with Kimberly. So one night, while staying over at his place, she did a little investigating, as one does when your gut won't leave you alone. And there they were. Pill bottles, HIV medication, sitting right there in his house like they paid rent. 5 years. 5 years this man had been sleeping with her, knowing exactly what he was carrying, and never said a single word. But wait, because it gets worse. At some point, Ronald's wife found out about the affair, and instead of just walking away quietly, she did something that could have saved Kimberly's life. She picked up the phone and warned her, told Kimberly directly that Ronald was HIV positive. And Ronald, he told Kimberly his wife was lying. A married man sleeping with his girlfriend behind his wife's back, then using his wife's credibility against her to protect himself. The layers of manipulation in this man are genuinely impressive. Not in a good way. In a this should be a case study kind of way. Kimberly believed him. And that decision cost her everything.
She'd do anything. She'd do anything for that man. And, for him to do this to her is not the way it should have been. By the time she found out and by the time, everything was all said and done, it was way too late. It got her so bad, it just threw her down.
After 2015, Kimberly already knew the truth. The pill bottles had confirmed what the wife had been telling her. But by that point, the damage had already been done. For years, the virus had been spreading through her body completely unchecked. Her immune system, already weakened by Crohn's disease, never stood a chance. She got sick. Then sicker. Then there was nothing left to do. On February 5th, 2017, Kimberly Klempner died of AIDS-related complications. She was 51 years old. She left behind a son named Josh, who had watched his mother suffer for years without understanding why, and was now left with the full devastating answer. Ronald Murdock, meanwhile, was still out here, living his life, saying nothing. It was Josh who pushed for answers. Josh who went to police. Josh who made sure this didn't just get filed away as a quiet death from a pre-existing illness. What investigators found when they dug in was cleaner than most cases. Kimberly herself had spoken to Toledo police detective Diana Trevino before she died, laying out exactly what happened. The relationship, the timeline, finding the pill bottles, the moment she realized the truth. She gave investigators everything they needed. Even from her deathbed, Kimberly was building the case. Her death certificate listed the cause of death as AIDS. The indictment covered the period of June 1st, 2011 through October 1st, 2016. 5 years of unprotected sex with a man who knew. Lucas County prosecutors made their position very clear. There was no grey area here. Ronald Murdock did not slip up, did not make a one-time mistake, did not act out of ignorance. He knew since 2004. And he chose, every single day for over a decade, to keep his mouth shut.
I keep telling myself it's not worth any kind of outburst or anything like that. His time will come.
He is Ronald Murdock, charged with murder and felony assault after allegedly having unprotected sex with and infecting his girlfriend, Klempner, with HIV. She died earlier this year. Judge Stacy Cook set Murdock's bond at $1.5 million. He was scheduled to be formally arraigned, though defense requested that be postponed. It is a case that Toledo Lucas County Health Department officials say is igniting conversation.
You can pass it on to your partner or partners, and that you need to have a conversation with your partner saying that, I am positive and we need to take precautions and this is what we can do.
Health Commissioner Eric Skoczynski adds that getting tested for HIV can often be the difference in life and death.
In June 2017, Ronald Murdock was indicted on charges of murder and felonious assault. Judge Stacy Cook set out his bond at $1.5 million. Under Ohio law, knowingly exposing a partner to HIV without disclosure isn't just a health violation. It's a criminal offense. And if that partner dies, it's murder. This was a landmark case, the first prosecution of its kind in Lucas County, and one of the first in the entire country, which means there was no playbook, no precedent, no prior case to point to. Prosecutors had to build this from the ground up. Lucas County prosecutor Julia Bates didn't blink. She told the court her office would pursue the murder conviction because Ronald Murdock, and I'm quoting her here, absolutely knew he had HIV and was infecting someone by having unprotected sex with someone who was not aware of his medical condition. The defense, naturally, argued that Ohio's HIV non-disclosure law violated the First Amendment and the Americans with Disabilities Act. So to recap, the argument being made on Ronald Murdock's behalf was essentially that being required to tell your partner you have a life-threatening virus before sleeping with them unprotected is unconstitutional. Sure. Okay. Moving on. In January 2018, Murdock took a plea deal. Murder was knocked down to involuntary manslaughter. Judge Stacy Cook found him guilty and sentenced him to 8 years in prison. 8 years. Maximum was 11. He didn't even get the maximum. Before sentencing, Josh's victim impact statement was read aloud in court by Kimberly's sister, Michelle Dale. Josh told that courtroom, "No one deserved to give my mother her death sentence. No one. The defendant did just that. A selfish act that could have been avoided if the defendant would have just spoke up and told the truth." And then Ronald Murdock stood up and said, "I apologize if I harmed her. If. Ronald, the death certificate says AIDS. The indictment has your name on it. Your pill bottles were found in your own house. But yes, if. Hypothetically. In the event that something may have possibly occurred. Sure. The audacity of that if could fill a stadium." The family heard it. The courtroom heard it. And honestly, that one word told you everything you needed to know about who Ronald Murdock really was. Josh had already said it best. Outside that courthouse, there is no sentence great enough. And 8 years, for a woman's life, for 5 years of deliberate silence that ended in someone's death. I've seen people get more time for stealing a car. Just saying, Kimberly Klempner didn't have to die. That is the part that stays with you long after this story ends. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't bad luck. It was years and years of calculated silence from a man who decided that his secret was worth more than her life. Josh fought publicly so that his mother's death would mean something. And in a legal sense, it did. This case cracked open a conversation in Ohio and across the country about HIV disclosure laws, about what we owe the people we are intimate with, and about whether the law is doing enough to protect people like Kimberly. Ronald Murdock believed the wife's warning would never land. He was almost right. Almost. And Kimberly's last act, telling her story to investigators before she died, is the reason he didn't get away with it completely. She made sure of that. If you are in a relationship and something feels off, please get tested. Not because you don't trust your partner, but because, as Josh said, and he was absolutely right, if you're going to be in a relationship, make sure you get checked. Period.